Welcome to Football Scientific. I am Aaron Starter. I'm ready for the footballanalysis1.com website. I cover the Cincinnati Bengals. On Football Scientific, we cover the NFL, the UFL, the CFL, the IFL, the NAL, and the ELF, especially here in the spring when most of the leagues are going on. ELF's going to kick up here in a couple weeks. But today, I am joined by my co-host, my special guest co-host, Tyler the Tiger. Hey everybody, I'm Tyler the Tiger. I'm in the house. Tyler's stepping in for Wolfie D, who's on vacation this week. He's gonna, we can go maybe Maui or something and hang out with the LA Rams. We'll see what happens with that. We're going there in June. We'll see how long Wolfie D's in Maui. But I have Tyler the Tiger with me. Tyler the Tiger, yeah, let's go Bengals. Let's go Tiger Cats. Yes, let's go with that. Okay, so we're going to kick off with some news from the NFL. The big news from the NFL today was the Dallas Cowboys made a trade with the Pittsburgh Steelers to acquire wide receiver George Pickens. George Pickens, solid player. Not the best player in the league. Solid player. Had a bad attitude with the Steelers. Got in some fights in practice and stuff. They don't like that in the Steel City in Pittsburgh. So Dallas Cowboys got him for a pretty cheap price. In the trade, Dallas Cowboys got George Pickens. And they also got a 2027 sixth-round draft pick, which is a really cheap price. You know, this is George Pickens. I mean, he's not, people are not clamoring for him, obviously. Pittsburgh Steelers received 2026 third-round draft pick from Dallas and 2027 fifth-round draft pick. They didn't even ask for a player in return. That tells you how high they were on George Pickens. But the Cowboys are trying to rebuild their receiver core for Dak Prescott. Earlier this year, they acquired wide receiver Jonathan Mingo to help rebuild their wide receiver group. Okay, they did cut wide receiver Seth Williams, so I'm assuming that George Pickens was brought in, and they decided to cut Seth Williams. That puts the Cowboys as being a fairly active team in free agency, not the most active, but more so than last year when they really didn't do anything. They've added wide receiver George Pickens, quarterback Joe Milton from the Patriots, Kenneth Murray at linebacker, and quarterback Kyer Elam. The Pittsburgh Steelers seem to be stripping down their roster, maybe getting ready for a rebuild, although they have a handshake deal with Aaron Rodgers for him to come out. So maybe they're thinking that's going to elevate them more. But right now, before telling any news, after this trade, the Steelers had DK Metcalf, Calvin Harris, Robert Woods from the Rams, Roman Wilson, Scotty Miller, Ben Skonarik, Brandon Johnson, Lance McCutcheon, and Freiermuth as their receiving core, which is not an all-star group. Okay, and Mason Rudolph as their starting quarterback currently. Cleveland Browns, they said that quarterback Shedeur Sanders, they passed on him 5 times. 4 times they picked him up in the 5th round. They said he's going to get a chance to compete for the starting quarterback position if he wants it. Cleveland Browns are becoming the new Indianapolis Colts. Quarterback graveyard, and now Shedeur Sanders is there. And they're saying, you want to go to the quarterback graveyard? We can add you to a grave. And he's kind of like, maybe. I don't know. All right, Las Vegas Raiders and Giants. They were both interested in getting Matt Stafford before he signed a contract with the Rams. And they offered him over $100 million for 2-year contracts. But both teams are horrible. And the Rams, they went to the playoffs last year. They won a playoff game. They looked pretty good. And Stafford thinks he may be able to win another Super Bowl. So he re-signed with the LA Rams with a 2-year contract for $84 million, which is a bit of a pay cut. A bit of a pay cut for $100 million. But he would rather win than end his career, probably being injured. Indianapolis Colts. Speaking of Indianapolis Colts, they signed linebacker Joe Baki, who played for the Bengals, with Lou Anarumo as his D coordinator. He's a new D coordinator in Indianapolis. He has Joe Baki. Trust me, glad to have him gone from the Bengals. Not a successful player. Bye, Baki. Don't come Baki. Tennessee Titans wide receiver Gabe Davis has been released after a year, which is confusing. I guess he just didn't perform, because last year they signed him to a 3-year contract for $39 million. But since then, he's had 20 catches, 239 yards, 2 touchdowns, and only played in 10 games. So that's really not, they're not getting their money's worth for that, $13 million a year per guy who's going to play half the season and catch 20 passes. So he's gone. See ya. Philadelphia Eagles, they have reworked the contract. Dallas Goedert, remember they were looking for a trade, but no one really wanted to trade. Maybe the Giants want to trade, but they didn't want to trade inside the division. It gets that way in the NFL. So Dallas Goedert reworked his contract. They renegotiated. So he was going to get paid $14 million this year, but now he's going to get paid $10 million with an incentive of $1 million to $11 million. I like incentive-based contracts. I think it keeps the players motivated. Indianapolis Colts, linebacker Samson Ibaku. He tore his Achilles last year. He's on track to return for training camp, but they did sign Joe Baki. At the same time, they said Samson Ibaku would probably be good to go. So is he good to go? I don't think they're 100% on that. They're like, maybe. Tennessee Titans, they re-signed defensive tackle James Lynch to a one-year deal, and they cut wide receiver Tay Martin. So, I mean, they're reducing their offensive weapons. They're bringing in defensive guys. Do they have a plan? I don't know. It's hard to tell. Seattle Seahawks, they re-signed veteran defensive tackle Jonathan Haskins. And they're also in the works of bringing back cornerback Shaquille Griffin, who would be a good, a re-addition to their defense. Defensive end Justin Pierre-Paul, with his hand blown off from a firework. Hand blown off. He said he's good to play. He's ready to play. He's in shape. He wants someone to pick him up for probably league minimum. A.k.a. he needs some money. L.A. Rams, they cut defensive tackle David Olajiga. Goodbye, Olajiga. Yes. Goodbye, NFL. Not a real busy day in the NFL. I have a series of articles. I wrote an article about the quarterback room of the Bengals last night on footballanalysis1.com. I'm about to talk about their running backs and their tight ends today. I'm setting the stage for mini camps. So that's what the deal is with there. Okay, that's what we're doing. So, and the UFL, Offensive Player of the Week, once again, fourth time this year, was Michigan Panthers quarterback Bryce Perkins. Why they bench him that 1 week and put in Danny Etling? Because they're stupid. That's why. No. Yeah. Mike Nolan's an idiot. They won this week with Bryce Perkins against the DC Defenders. They're pretty good with Bryce Perkins. Defensive Player of the Week was St. Louis Battlehawks edge rusher Pita Tomopua. He played pretty well against the Arlington Renegades. Special Teams Player of the Week, St. Louis Battlehawks, kicker Rodrigo Blankenship. So they had a good week. They're back in the playoff hunt. They're at 4-2, tied for first place in the XFL Conference. Houston Roughnecks, they re-signed wide receiver Cyril Grayson, hoping to get some pop back in their offense. They want to make a playoff run. They're trying to, they're trying to add people where they can. They're 4-3. Three and three, and they're one game out of a playoff spot right now. So they're trying to add some people. Cyril Grayson, they added him. They cut defensive end David Bellamy. They cut wide receiver Judgy Robinson. Okay, so they're trying to make a push here for the playoffs. We'll see if they can get there. It'd be pretty crazy if they could, but they have to get past the Stallions and the Michigan Panthers. I think both teams are better than Roughnecks. Memphis Showboats. I've been wrong before though, many times. Memphis Showboats re-signed defensive tackle Dylan Famatawa, and they cut P.J. Hall. St. Louis Battlehawks, they have moved offensive guard Abdul Beecham to the IR. He's gone for the rest of the season. Might come back in the playoffs. That's a 5-week IR list, so he's done. At least until the playoffs. They re-signed wide receiver Sam Wiggiza. So we'll see if they can get a boost in their offense. Hopefully not. Boo Battlehawks. Okay. Michigan Panthers re-signed cornerback Keontae Harden. Okay. Trying to add some pop to they're trying to get ready for a playoff push here. Defensive tackle Walter Palermo is on IR, and Levante Taylor, I mentioned he was on IR. They're a little beat up. UFL's a little beat up this time of year. Speaking of being beat up, Birmingham Stallions are still trying to rebuild their depth at quarterback with all his injuries, and Case Cookins is banged up, and Peasley's banged up, and Matt Corral's on it. He's injured, and Case Cookins, no, and Alex Magoo, they're all injured. So they added another quarterback. They added quarterback Jalen Morton. If you remember him, he had played. He had been on the Hamilton Tiger Cats training camp roster maybe 3 years ago. He got cut. He got signed by the Stallions. He was their third string quarterback. I think their second year in the USFL, and then they got cut in the UFL. So he's back. So he knows the system. So that's a big advantage of bringing back Jalen Morton. He knows the system of the Stallions. Arlington Renegades took a big hit today. Running back Kalen Ballage is out for the rest of the season. He was a good runner for them. He had 306 rushing yards, 2 touchdowns, 46 receiving yards. He ran the ball really well. He's done. So that's going to make it hard for Arlington. They're 3-3. They're trying to get back into the title race. Losing one of their best running backs is difficult for them. Pittsburgh Steelers, hint, hint, hint. They've added wide receiver Allen Lazard. They're pursuing it. They're trying to add him from the Jets. That is Aaron Rodgers' guy. So the fact they're trying to get Allen Lazard, they'll probably sign him and then Aaron Rodgers, not the other way around, I'm assuming. So if Allen Lazard signs with the Steelers, expect Aaron Rodgers to sign soon after that. His move is imminent. Okay, rookie minicamp started in the CFL today. So what did teams do? They made last-minute additions and subtractions for the rosters. It was time if you're retiring, it's time to retire. I don't know why they pick right before training camp to do that, but maybe they're thinking about it. Some of those guys retire due to injuries, so there's a lot of names here. The BC Lions, they signed American defensive back Robert Carter Jr. He's reporting to rookie minicamp. They retired national wide receiver Brandon Linnaeus, retired, gone. Calgary Stampeders signed national wide receiver Damian Alford from Utah. And then they had 2 guys retire. American defensive lineman Charles Wiley, he's out due to injury. And national linebacker Frazier Supik, he just retired. Edmonton Elk signed global linebacker Alexander Wright, who played at Kansas. I believe he was one of their global draft picks last week. And they signed American defensive back Jermaine Dobbs, who made some impact in college football and the NFL a little bit. Hamilton Tiger Cats, kind of a big loss for them. Retired due to injuries. American defensive back Reggie Stubblefield. Last year we were pretty pumped when they signed Reggie Stubblefield from Montreal, bring his Grey Cup winning experience, but he's done due to injury. That's a downer. It's already kind of a downer for the Hamilton Tiger Cats. Montreal they have not made a lot of movement on their draft picks and getting ready for training camp, which is weird. But they act. In Quebec, they act a little differently, so it works for them. So they signed a bunch of people today. They signed national defensive line Gabriel Masanov, who played at Montreal. They signed national linebacker Gabriel Lesser, who played at Montreal for U Sports Football. They signed national quarterback Jonathan Cheredo. Okay, it's French, I believe. He's played at Montreal. They signed national linebacker Riley McLeod, who played at Western. I believe he was a draft pick. They signed American offensive lineman Jarrett Horst. Okay. They signed national wide receiver Isaac Galliard. They signed national running back Keanu Yazbek from Western. And they signed global punter Joshua Hartley. They signed national defensive lineman Afina Onyeku, who was released just a couple days ago. They signed national wide receiver Hakeem Harris, who played at Davenport University. He's a national, he's a draft pick though. They signed national offensive lineman Tiger Shanks from the UNLV. He was a draft pick. They signed national defensive back Nate Bocherman, who played at Calgary. They have a guy retiring due to injury. American defensive lineman Mustafa Johnson, he's done. And another retirement due to injury, American offensive lineman Joshua Donovan. So they lost a couple linemen, and that's rough. But they signed several dudes that are Canadian. So Ottawa Redblacks, they signed American offensive lineman Daniel Keys, played at Louisiana Tech, and they signed American wide receiver Jalen Gill, played at Fresno State. They had a couple guys retire today due to injury. American linebacker Ayinde Elie and national long snapper Peter Adjei. Who played at Queens. This is in the youth. Okay. The Seattle Rough Riders, they had a guy retire. They had American wide receiver Sean Bain Jr., who played with Tirecats a little bit. He's gone. Toronto Argonauts had a national kicker, Liram Hajlurahu, retire due to injury. American defensive back Benji Franklin retired. He retired too due to injury. Losing some people in Toronto. Winnipeg Blue Bombers had lost some guys retired due to injury. National defensive line Cameron Lawson played at Queens. Goodbye. And a huge loss for Winnipeg. American wide receiver Dalton Schoen, Kansas State. He was a major playmaker for them. He's gone. That's good. Okay, good for the Ticats. In the IFL, only a little bit of activity so far this week. Barnstormers released defensive back Jaleel Brown, and they released quarterback Joaquin Colazo II. They're not getting what they want right now. National Arena League, Columbus Lions signed offensive lineman Bracken Smith. In the ELF, Paris Musketeers signed linebacker Cadell King. He's played in the ELF since 2021 when he played for the Frankfurt Galaxy. He's a playmaker for them. He's coming in looking to blow it up for Paris. They're trying to make a playoff run. They made it 2 playoffs last year, trying to make a run in the playoffs. The Farivar and Throners signed French defensive end Vincent Buffet. That's a big pickup for them. He's been a European All-Star multiple times. He's played in Elf for a while. He played for the Leipzig Kings, the Raiders Tyrol, the Paris Musketeers. He's played 41 Elf games. He had 52 tackles, 8 sacks, 12.5 tackles for loss, 3 fumble recoveries. So, I mean, that's a good addition for the Farivar and Throners. But I kind of figured they were going to make a run last year, and then they fell flat. So, it's hard for me to want to say they're going to do well again. Next week, we'll take a longer look at the ELF, and it's getting ready to play it. May 17th, they start playing. That's next weekend, so we'll give more attention to the ELF next week, and we'll continue looking at the NFL. Remember, I'm having some Cincinnati Bengals articles coming out this week on footballanalyst1.com. As soon as we get down here, I'm going to go back to typing, so that should go pretty well. And then rookie minicamp for the Bengals is Friday. Rookie minicamp for the Tirecats started today in Canada. So good times for everyone, and hopefully things are going to work out better than it did for the Brahmas in the UFL, 1-5, and a game away from being put down for the year. Goodbye, Brahmas. I guess Jelly Eyes would be stakes. Going to be stakes. Okay, so that's the deal there. Check out footballanalysis1.com. Also, to check out UFL News Hub and CFL News Hub for UFL and CFL News. And then also, if you enjoy the channel, subscribe, and if you don't mind, like the video. But if you don't want to, no one cares. I'm not going to judge you. I'm not going to think about it at all. So that's the plan, and we're going to have Prediction Palooza coming up very soon this week, so we'll see how it goes. We had a huge week last week. Huge week. What did we end up being? Tyler, do the math real quick. So we ended up going 3-1 in the UFL. We went 4-0 in the NAL, 7-3. And then we went 3-3 in the IFL. So that's 10-4. Not a bad week. So hopefully we can recreate that or do better this week, and we'll pump it up. Tyler, got any closing notes? Make sure you get your pets spayed and neutered. Wait, why did you have me read that? That's gross. No, don't get spayed or neutered. That's not nice. What's happening around here? Why did I say that? Why? I'm so upset. Whoopie-dee, where are you, Whoopie-dee?